All right, everyone, welcome. Welcome to everyone here at our campus at Concordia. Welcome to those of you that are checking in through our live broadcast here. Glad to see that many of you chose to check in through the live stream. Whether you're close and just around the corner, I know there's a few of those, or whether you're from another state, and it might be a little later and darker than it is now. We really appreciate you checking in. So we have two different options here tonight, those of you that are here, those that are online. My name is John O'Neill. I serve as our Director of Enrollment Analytics and Programs. Yes, I know that title makes no sense at all to most of you. It's okay. Basically, I get to oversee our admissions representatives for our Masters in Coaching and Athletics program. So I've been doing that for 3 years. I transitioned, went into a fundraising role with athletics, realized that asking people for money wasn't nearly as fun as it sounds, and came back here roughly about 6 months ago. So I've been back in this role. Pleased to be here. So thank you for checking in. Thank you for meeting with us. Tonight is going to be a very informal, casual night, whether you're here in person or on the live broadcast. We want to communicate with you. A lot of you here are going to hear something we say or on the live stream and type something in or raise your hand. Please do that. Let's ask questions. Let's talk throughout the whole night. What I want to remind you, though, is at the very end, you're going to have an opportunity to hear from current students and alumni, and that's my favorite part of the night. That's the opportunity you get to ask these people, you know, what their favorite class was, how much time they spent in the classroom, what they're doing with their degree, what they plan to do, any of those type things. So I encourage you to do that. Those of you online, John Kolstad, our senior graduate admissions counselor, is on the chat there, and we'll be walking through with you the whole night and talking about what we have going on. I encourage you to ask questions there. He will flag me down somehow, and we will make sure that we touch base. So make sure to chat. Just like raising your hand, you can just put it in that chat there, and we'll follow along. A reminder to those of you through the live stream, in order to get your application fee waived, we have to have you fill out the link that John is getting you there, just so we have your information so that we can waive that for you and save you $50. So take your wives or your husbands out on a date night with that. We don't need it right now. We want you to get that application and get the process started going now. And for those of you in person, we'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the evening if we see it's the right fit. What I want to do right now, and I know this is a little tough for those on the live stream, I want to kind of point out some of our staff that we have around the room. So I'm going to start over here with Lupe. Lupe Valdivia, you will hear from tonight. She is our academic advisor for the program, so she will be speaking a little bit and have a lot of those academic questions you have answered. We have our program director, Tony Diaz, who is here, who you will also hear from momentarily. Behind him, we have Ryan Brent. Ryan is our head lacrosse coach for men's and women's here. So those of you on the East Coast where lacrosse is a lot more popular, he looks a lot better in person, but it's okay. So we have Ryan here. We have Tim Preuss, our Dean of the School of Arts and Sciences. He will be chatting about our MS option that we are doing tonight, the Master of Science. So I know that's what many of you have checked in online or come here for. He's going to have all that information. This is something we've been working on for quite a while, and so he's going to really make sure to give you a lot of those resources. So make sure to, for Tim. In the back here, we have our newest hire, Billy Maxfield. Billy has been with us for a week and a day, so he is here learning tonight. I've known Billy for a while and stole him over here to help out with this program. On the chat there, as we talked about, is John Kolstad. John Kolstad's been with us a little less than a year and has been around as serving as our senior graduate admissions counselor. And then up front, because he wanted a great view up here, is Travis Roberts. Also has been with us about 3 weeks now, right? So a few newbies here in the room, so it's fun. They get to see what this is like and walk through that with us. So we also have some alumni that I'm going to introduce a little bit later on. So just know there's some other people around here that we'll be chatting with up here. Write down questions you might have. You have pens on there because they're sometimes the best people to answer them, and you'll forget them if you don't write them down. So we give you a lot of pens on the tables, and you have a lot of information that we'll be walking through. So there's some introductions from around the room. And we walked through that. I didn't even flip to that slide. We got through it all, so we're great. I want to make sure we do this. A lot of times for the people on the live broadcast, they've never seen physically how beautiful our campus is. So for those of you on the live stream, this is very literally our view right now, looking out of this room. So those of you here, if you look out of this room that way, this is our campus. We are tucked on a hill in beautiful Irvine, California, minutes from Newport Beach. So if you need context, and sometimes people don't know where Irvine is, right behind Newport Beach is the best way to describe it. So this is our Concordia campus. We've been here since 1976, so it's been a little while here. Concordia, this is our mission statement. Concordia University Irvine, guided by the Great Commission of Christ Jesus and the Lutheran Confessions, empowers students through the liberal arts and professional studies. This is the key part. for lives of learning, service, and leadership. You're going to see those echoed throughout everything we go through tonight. Learning, service, and leadership. So that's what we'll be getting into here with Concordia. Give you some brief information. I mentioned we've been here since 1976. We're a member of the LCMS, stands for Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. If you don't know, there's a handful of us Concordias out there, 10 of them and a couple seminaries throughout the country. We are the one based here in Southern California. Many times you'll see, those of you that are looking at athletics websites and stuff, we're Concordia, California when you look at them on there, because many times that's just the way they title us, Concordia CA. So just know that, but we're here in Irvine. We've offered distance learning, e-learning, online education, whatever adjective you want to put to describe our program, since about 2001. This program's been around for 12 years, but Concordia has been in the business of online education for quite some time. Because think back to 2001. There weren't a whole lot of people doing it in 2001. It was really in the late, 2008, 2010 that it really kind of got a little bigger. And so that's where we're at here. This is a big part that many of you really come here wanting to know, accreditation. That is something when you went and got your undergraduate degree, that was important. Here for your graduate degree, even more so. You want to make sure it works for you now and in the future. I want to point out that we were granted full accreditation by WASC in 2014. Now, full accreditation, and I have in there the maximum amount, which is 10 years, is almost unheard of. I saw a stat that it's roughly 5% or less of the schools that they work with get this. WASC is one of the most difficult regional accrediting agencies to get it through. So the fact that we not only got that, but got it for the maximum time period is really awesome and shows that the learning outcomes that we talk about in our program are really getting accomplished and that our degree is working, whether students want to go on and get a doctorate later on, whether they want to make sure it works for their school district or their community college or four-year university, whatever that is, our degree is really helping students. These numbers are always changing. I put them on here so you get a rough estimate. We have right around the 4,500 number of students. Our graduate and adult population, by far the largest, at about 3,000. So, but roughly in the ballpark of 1,500 undergrads, roughly in the ballpark of 3,000 graduate students. You might see 2,900 on there on some of them. As you can imagine, it's ever changing. Graduate and adult population, you have starts and finishes all over the place. We have certain programs that have 8 to 10 starts. We have others that have 4 starts and 2 starts. So it's tough to track down that number at any given time. But that's a rough estimate of where we're at, is about 3,000. To talk about the program's purpose and give you a little bit more about that, I'd like to introduce Tony Diaz, our program director for the Masters in Coaching and Athletics Administration. Welcome, Tony.
Thank you, John. Before I start, Emily, where'd you come from?
From Northridge.
Where do you live?
Northridge.
A little bit of a dry.
From?
Tri County.
What city?
From Oxnard.
Okay. Welcome to the club.
Tony, where are you from?
Oxnard.
There you go.
Our program's purpose is real simple. We're at the School of Arts and Sciences right now, and the whole idea of the program is to give each and every one of you a learning opportunity through perhaps your goals, your aspirations in athletic leadership or coaching. And the whole purpose is to provide you in each class that we offer, and you'll learn a little bit more about the classes we offer, to discuss with other students with similar backgrounds and similar desires, this transformational idea of learning, where you're going to learn so much from other students, whether they're in your sport, out of your sport, those that are aspire to be athletic administrators, coaches, move up a notch to the secondary, junior college, or small college ranks, or whether you're in here just to get the already a teacher and you want the income bump on your salary. All of that you're going to learn from other people. And what I have found, and for the most part, is most students that come through the program really do have this transformational change in how they view things, how they view athletics. It's a combination of a lot of things. We do a lot of instilling of Christian values, which is very popular amongst our coaches today, and how they can instill those Christian values even if they work in a secular school. We're really good at updating our courses so we stay 21st century. We're on the cutting edge. When you take any one of our adjunct professors, I think the last time we checked, we have about almost 45 and maybe like 3,500 years of experience in the athletic field. So it's quite a bit, quite large. So we're very proud of that. We're very proud of what we offer. And as you can see, we are just finishing our 11th year. And during that time, we have 2,500 plus alumni. We have at any given time 4 terms a year. We average about 900 students. We have a really good setup and a way we do it. We've served students in every state and in about 7 or 8 countries throughout the world. And we service mostly interscholastic coaches, which maybe is where you're at, but about a third of our students come from the college and university ranks and the junior college ranks. So it's a great program. I'm also a graduate of the program myself, retired educator from the Oxnard Union High School District for 30 plus years. So I hope to see a lot of you in 510 starting the program and coming around the campus during our California Coaches Conference and all the different delivery methods of which you can earn your master's degree. So, John, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Tony. I appreciate that. One of the things I want to point out while Tony was up here is Tony is not a distant program director. Sometimes that's by title and name. Tony likes to know his students. He still teaches and helps out with that. And so he is someone that I encourage you as students and future students and people that are pre-alumni, notice how I use that term, pre-alumni, that know that he is someone that you can go to and will work with. He's had stories and stories about people that he's helped. And so I encourage you to reach out to him because that's not very common. So I'm going to let you know a little bit about the basics, but before I do that, I want to make sure I let you know, those of you that are in person in your packets, those of you that are online, John Kolstad has put that link there for you. We will send all of this PowerPoint to you in a PDF form tomorrow. So you will get this tomorrow morning. So don't worry too much if you see something on there and you want to scribble right away and keep up with everything. We'll make sure to get that to you. So you'll get everything that's going up here. Our program is really quite simple when you boil it down to it. We like to take out, that name tag's fallen off 10 times. We like to take out more of the hoops and get right to the point. So there's 9 classes. 5 of them are core courses. 4 of them are electives. You're going to hear a little more about that later, especially when we talk about the Master's of Science degree. But that's the breakdown. It's 5 core, 4 electives, 36 units. Every one of them is 4 units. So it's very basic. There's not a 2-unit class here and a 3-unit there, and you have this degree plan that you're trying to figure out and know how it works. We don't have that. We have a few different ways that we offer classes. 11-week classes, whether they're online, which is what many of our students used to take, because you saw we've served students in every state here in the U.S., multiple countries around the world, or you can do on-site classes. I know this last term we had one of our classes on-site here, the 510 course, met downstairs, and so they have that. That meets on Monday evenings from 6 to 10, so I'm probably talking more to the people here in the room tonight than those of you on the broadcast. Those are based on demand, so I encourage you, reach out. A lot of people enjoy those classes. It's that interaction. But I don't want you to be fearful of online education at the same time, because the difference is you're used to raising your hand in a class and talking to a professor. Online, that's really just a discussion board, and so you get to work through what some of those are like. We also have 1-week opportunities. These are really unique. Those of you that are watching right now really are poised to get into the summer term and start some of these. We have classes that run the last week of June all the way through right around the last week of July. It's about 5 weeks of those courses that are offered. They normally have some pre and post work, but you have 1 week of instruction here on campus. So you really boil that 11-week term down into one intensive week of instruction. And so that's a great one. I encourage those. We have a lot of sports-specific classes here. I know we don't have time to go around the room and see what sport everybody is in, but we have a number of these offered. I know offering lacrosse this year for the first time in the 1-week setting. We have baseball, basketball, football. I think we're even looking at cheer. And so there's a bunch of these that are offered in those settings. So I encourage you to check those out. We have 4 terms. As you can see, you're going to look at this and say, this doesn't really look much like an traditional academic calendar. What do you have normally when you do your undergrad? You have fall, spring, and maybe if you're really, shooting for the stars, you take a summer course or 2 and you do that. That's your traditional setting. Ours isn't necessarily as traditional. You see these walk through, and what do these represent? Spring, let's go for example. Mid-February will run right around early May. What sports are running at that time? We have men's volleyball. You have baseball, softball. Many people, some in the East Coast will have soccer, different sports. So they follow sports seasons as much as they can. And so it's there. I'm going to jump past summer because you can obviously see those. But in the fall, we run right around the middle of August, give or take, until right around the end of October, early November, depending on the season. Football, volleyball, many of those seasons are going to be running around that time. So this is really based a lot around a sports calendar. And the reason for that is we want it to be practical for you. We want you to be able to determine whether you're in season. Maybe you only need to take one class while you're in season because you are very busy and you have a lot going on. Maybe you have an opportunity to take more than that when you're out of season, and you can take 2, or in the summer, maybe even up to 3, and know what that looks like. We want you to be able to determine that and see what that looks like. So we try as much as possible to have these follow those terms. So it's a little bit of a walkthrough of those. The delivery system I mentioned is online, on-site, 1-week intensives. I didn't touch on blended, and so I want to make sure I focus on this. We have one of these blended opportunities coming up. It's not really a 1 week, it's a little less than that, but it's our Nike basketball conference in Las Vegas. Do we have any basketball coaches in the room? Basketball coaches, are you going to the Nike conference?
I'm looking at
Okay. Opportunity to take that for 4 units of graduate level work. So that's an opportunity we have that, once again, some pre-work that you do. I know in that class they read a book. Many of the students read John Wooden's leadership book. They're going to write a paper on that, do some work, come to that conference, write some stuff up, and they have a practical project that they do at the end of that class that they turn in. And so that's taught by our head basketball coach, Ken Ammon, here at Concordia. Very well known, been here. I believe he just finished his 15th or 16th year here. But Ken teaches that class, and that one's in Vegas. Let's be honest, who doesn't want to take a class in Vegas? That's always a little fun too. So that's the idea of those blended opportunities. Another one we have, actually, before I turn it over to Lupe, is, maybe she can speak to this a little bit, is we have, has anyone been to the CSADA, the California State Athletic Directors Association? Bounces back and forth between Reno and then down in San Diego. Every other year we'll go between those two. We offer that as a course, our Athletic Director Institute. So that's another opportunity of a blended class that you could take. Once again, trying to be very practical and work through those. Who teaches that class is Rob Wygod, our CIF Southern Section Commissioner. So Rob teaches that one in that setting. That's coming up in, what, this week? 2 weeks. Sorry, I know it was quick. If that one isn't feasible, I do encourage students to take that class in the summer in the 1 week setting. That's normally the last one in July, right around that time. But that's a phenomenal class, and Rob gets a ton of different speakers that come in and talk in that class. So it's not like you're sitting there listening to a guy lecture for 40 hours in the week. That would be boring. No one wants to do that. You get some really practical stuff and great ADs from all around that get to speak there. So that's there. As we get into advising, I'm going to invite up Lupe to come up. She also has some props here. So sorry we don't have those for you online, but please join me in welcoming Lupe Valdivia.
Thank you.
Sorry, Lupe, can you use the mic for the live stream? Thank you.
Is this on?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So as John said, I'm one of the advisors in the program, and the other advisor is Chelsea Myatt. She actually works remotely from Florida, so which means she is available earlier in the day to answer all your questions via email or by phone. And then, as it states here, the program is made up of 36 units. 5 of them are core classes and 4 electives. In your handout, or actually in the packet you received, you should have received this handout, which breaks it down, and it tells you which are the core classes listed at the top, and then at the bottom there are about 30 electives that we offer.
Sorry, those of you online through the live stream that are checking in with us, that is in the link that John put up there for you. It's the colorful page. It's got the baseball player on it on the back side of that page. So those in the live stream, that's what you're checking out.
Okay, thank you, John. And moving on, the transfer credit options, you can transfer in graduate level coursework up to 9 units, and I personally handle all of that. So if you have any questions about courses that you've previously taken that you'd like to be considered, you can email me directly for that. We do not consider transfers for any of the core classes, so it has to be specifically for our electives only. And another important thing about the program is the portfolio, which is the very final course, culminating project 595, which is actually this here. And I'll pass this around so that you can take a look at it. Oh, perfect.
sorry, those of you on the live stream, we don't have an example portfolio there, but you can reach out when you get to that point to your advisor, and they will help you out.
Yes. So what that is, it's basically a summary of key signature assignments that you've done throughout the program. So from the beginning to the very end, there's 7 signature assignments that are going to go into the portfolio. So in your last term, which is 11 weeks, what you'll be doing is putting this portfolio together. What is unique about it is that it's basically your coaching philosophy. And then we require that you include an updated resume as well as 3 letters of recommendation. And what our alumni have done in the past is they take it with them to job interviews, and they've been successful in getting securing jobs just based on the portfolio. So that's perfect for you to take with you. We highly recommend it. And then as far as our timeline, the program can be done in as little as 15 months, but the average is about 18 months. So like we mentioned earlier, there's online classes, on-site classes, blended, so it gives you flexibility to finish as quickly as you need. And finally, the culminating project, if you need an extension that is available to you, it is an additional 11 weeks, and there is an additional fee for that. So if you have any questions about that, again, you can always email Chelsea or myself.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Lupe. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So, thank you. I want to really echo her comments about the culminating project and maybe elaborate a little bit for some of you on our live stream. It's something that our coaches and ADs use all the time to get jobs. It really is. I can speak to that being someone that has seen that happen. I had a very close friend of mine who the reason he got his job as a basketball coach was he walked in with that portfolio and he gave it to him, and he had just updated his portfolio to discuss a little bit. In one of his chapters had a section about what was going on with social media and athletes. Isn't that a hot topic right now? And so he introduced that and added a little bit to it after he had graduated the program and turned his portfolio into a little bit of a summary and gave a little bit of that, put that in there. Submitted it. Once again, work he had done with us. From that portfolio, he got the job started, and he knew another guy that had applied for it was a little more qualified than he was, and kind of brought that up to his AD and said, hey, this guy did that. I'm glad you took me. Don't get me wrong. I love that I get the job. But at the same time, you know, what's going on? And he said, I loved that section. He goes, now we're taking that, and he goes, your first job with us is you're going to update that so it works for all of our sports and not just basketball, and every coach is going to get that, and it's going to go to them, and it's going to go to their student athletes and parents. And so he got that out to all of them. So that's an idea of how that's a very practical document. So when I talk here really quick about practicality and flexibility are 2 main points that we have in the program, we really mean it. Our teachers teach in this way. So these are people that Tony mentioned when he was up here earlier that are involved currently in educational athletics, whether that is teaching at a high school, at a college, coaching in athletic administration, whatever realm. These are people that are very, very practical to what they're doing. So that's there. They mix the theory side with the practice. We want to give you stuff that you get to use the next day, not study and study and study and study and never use. We want to give you stuff that you get to use. So I mentioned that it's designed for working professionals. I love this line. It's taught by coaches and ADs for coaches and ADs. So it's very, very practical. So with that, I'm going to invite our Dean of the School of Arts and Sciences, Tim Preuss, to come up and join us as he talks about our Master's in Science program. Please welcome Tim.
Well, I'd like to echo what John said about a program taught by coaches for coaches. This program starting in 2005 was one of the most exciting reasons that I accepted a job here in 2005 to serve as athletic director. The idea that we were putting together a program that recognized that coaching actually is a discipline. It's a multidisciplinary field, but elements of sports psychology and exercise physiology and training, all those different elements. If this program had existed in 1987, I'd have signed up when I was finishing up and starting my career. The thing that energizes all of us is we love the opportunity to be able to share some of the things that have worked for us in our programs with our students, see our students interact within the classes and the discussion boards, and have a ever larger group of people joining us in our mission of transforming the culture of sport. Because you don't have to follow too many stories on ESPN before you realize there's stuff that needs to be changed, right? And so we want to help people that are interested in investing in students' lives and making a difference in people's lives, as well as having a successful and rewarding career. So why an MS? That's a great question for you, and that's a great question for us. We have the largest and most successful Master's in Coaching and Athletic Administration program in the country. We have 900 students. Our next closest competitor has 300. So why mess with a great thing? Well, to give you guys, as students, more options. For some students, the MA is the perfect option and will continue to be. Part of the MA program is, for example, our sports-specific courses that are offered as electives. So you can take the coaching of basketball class, take the coaching of soccer class, whatever works for you in your profession. But some of you have either a natural inclination and bent toward sciences, or you have aspirations to secure a position that requires actual science-based coursework. So if you want to get a job, full-time job at a junior college, you want to do what I did early in my career and secure a full-time teaching and coaching position at a small private Christian college in the Midwest, I had to have a master's degree that would allow me to teach in the Health and Human Performance or Exercise and Sports Science department to allow me to have the coaching position. So that's what this program is going to allow students to do. In addition to the core courses that were discussed earlier, you have a 510 Principles of Coaching and Leadership Philosophy. You've got 530, our ethics course, and if there's a field that needs some discussion about ethics, it's our field. We've got 550, a research methods course, which will introduce you to qualitative and quantitative research methods. We've got the legal aspects class, 580, because that's, again, a field where you need to have some kind of basic background in what you can and cannot do from a legal perspective. Now, the MS is going to provide a series of elective options for you that will allow you, again, to secure that position at a small college or junior college environment. So of the options that we have available, we're rolling the program out with 6 initially. I'm sure this list will expand over time, as our list on the MA program did. But initially, we're going to start with students having an opportunity to choose 4 of these 6 options. 570, Sport Medicine and Performance, is a course that's going to come at sport medicine performance kind of from an athletic training perspective, understanding the mechanics and mechanisms of injury and rehabilitation times and recovery and protocols for helping students that are in that kind of a situation return to performance. Concussions is a huge thing in that course right now and is a big thing in the field. Exercise testing and prescription is my class. All right, this class is, or currently I'm teaching it, there are other people that are going to teach it. But a nice feature of this class is it is based on the National Strength and Conditioning Association's materials that prepare for the Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist exam. That's considered to be the gold standard certification in the field of strength and conditioning. So not only can you get credit for the course, work your way 4 units closer to a master's in science, but you can prepare yourself to sit for that exam and hopefully take that exam successfully and add a certification that's very valuable in the field. Advanced exercise physiology, we can introduce basic concepts of exercise physiology in 586, but we can go a lot further. In an exercise physiology class, you're going to talk about the energy systems in the body. You're going to talk about acute and chronic responses to training in an aerobic training situation or an anaerobic training situation. We can go into a great amount of detail in that course on those kind of topics. Biomechanics is studying and analyzing movement and then helping athletes correct it. And there's technological tools available, but before you can take full advantage of those technological tools, you have to have a basic understanding yourself of the biomechanical principles. We had Tom House here for our summer. He's famous as a guy that has taken biomechanical principles and applied them in a very successful way to pitching mechanics. Nutrition for sport. This is a class that you could take that you could help your team get better next week. Right? You can, if you can get them to understand and help them to actually follow through on what's appropriate for hydration in and around competition and training and appropriate nutrition prior to and following training and competition, they can get healthier in a very short period of time. And a healthier athlete performs better and is injured less frequently. So nutrition is an undervalued area in our field, and we want to help people have a solid foundation in that. General Medicine and Pharmacology is a class that we're sharing with our new Masters of Science in Athletic Training. And there's all kinds of stuff that you encounter as a coach. You'll have a diabetic athlete. You'll have an athlete with an eating disorder. You'll have an athlete with some other kind of common medical challenge, maybe a heart condition. My daughter right now is a freshman at Orange Lutheran on the cross-country team, and she for 30 days is wearing a heart monitor because she had a little bit of a hiccup, a little bit of a flutter, and it made the trainers nervous. Whether it's very common medical things like that, or another feature of this course will be supplementation in pharmacology. So everything from ibuprofen, appropriate administration of that, to anabolic steroids, and the difference between anabolic steroids and anti-inflammatory steroids. Those kinds of topics will all be weaved into this course. So we're rolling this out because we think it's the next step in the evolution of our program to be able to serve our students ever better. So thank you for your opportunity to share that with you, and I look forward to answering any questions you might have about it a little later in the program.
Thank you very much, Tim. I want to echo just a brief thing of what Tim said there, is that we really are trying to look ahead and be more practical for our students. Whether those students are at a high school level now, many students are looking in the future and seeing where they're going to be at. And they say, you know what, I want to teach at a community college and in retirement now, whenever they're. So they're looking towards this MS program. We're trying to help prepare the best way we can, and with that, give you as our students options. So that's the big thing, is you have the option to go those routes. So I want to make sure to emphasize that and let you know there. I encourage you later on in the panel, ask any more specific questions you have for Tim. Some admissions requirements, so I can walk through this briefly. Once again, I mentioned at the beginning, we stripped out a lot of the loopholes. We're looking for an application, which you have in your packets. Those of you here, those of you online, can see that online. John will post the link shortly to our online application page. So you'll have there. $50 non-refundable application fee. Don't worry, we are waiving that for all of you today. So any of them that are done in person, that is waived for. For those of you that live stream, anything done within the next day, you got 24 hours there. We'll make sure to take care of that for you and save you those $50. We need academic transcripts. Many of you went to 7 junior colleges before you went to a 4-year school and finished up, and then you got a credential, and then you went and got another master's degree and everything else. The one that we really care about is whatever one shows that you have a bachelor's. So get us those transcripts. A lot of times what we're looking at is we need to see that the GPA is north of a 2.75. So if it's below that number and those transfer units in your undergrad or your credential or master's is going to help you go north of that 2.75, send those in as well. We'll weight those all accordingly. But I want to make sure I talk about our petition letter that we have in here, is if you are below that 2.75, I'm not asking you to raise your hand for those of you in person or identify yourself for those of you through our live stream, but there is a decent amount of people that do fall below that. People ask me all the time, John, why is that a huge requirement? I struggled a little bit. And I say, well, I bet you were an athlete student and not a student athlete when you were in college. I bet your coach thought that you were there to play and to make him look good or her look good and everything else. And that same intensity that you put into your sport when you were in college, that your grades suffered a little bit from, now you get to transition and you get to put that energy into your study, because you're not taking a bunch of general education units. You're taking classes that you're genuinely interested in and want to study. And so sometimes those actually end up being our best students. So that if you are below that 2.75, talk to us. There's a petition letter that we write. We can walk you through that and let you know a little bit about what that looks like. So that's there. The number one question I always get asked when I run through this slide that you might be thinking about right now is, they don't require letters of recommendation. What is my uncle going to do that he can't write me a letter of recommendation? He really wanted to write great things about me. Well, we have looked at this a lot, and we started reading those. They were all the same. And so our view, and yes, this is a funny statement, but if you can't find 2 people to say something nice about you, you may have more to worry about than grad school. So we don't require those. It's a loop that we don't want you to have to jump through to get into our program. We really look at your drive in educational athletics and what that looks like. That'll show up a lot in that acceptance decision. So we keep going. Cost of the program. This is always important. People want to know, how is this going to work? What does this look like? And I'm going to pay for it. We don't want to shy away from this subject. This is important. is it's $525 a unit. Now, what does that equal out to if all our classes are 4 units? Don't worry, I was a math guy, 2,100. So that's where you're at per class. So you have that for the per class 9 classes, 18,900 total. So that gives you a little bit of information on that. How I kind of back that up and walk through that a little bit is actual versus projected. How many of you during your time at your 4-year university did your cost of tuition go up? I hope you're all raising your hands because every school does it, whether you saw it or not, is that goes up. We work off a locked-in tuition rate. So when you start with us, as long as you're continuously enrolled, you stay at that same rate throughout the whole time. So you know 18.9's the number. It's not, well, 18.9, but if it goes up 3% next year and 5% the next year, don't worry about that. This is where you're at if you're continuously enrolled. You're allowed to take 1 term off and still stay at that. So know that whether it's for your end season or something else, you have options there. We don't have fees because your application fee got waived tonight. That was the fee, is we have that. But a lot of schools have an online fee, a distance learning fee, a technology fee, an out-of-state fee. I can go on and on and on like a used car commercial, but they have all of these. We don't have those. We don't want you to have to worry about what is there. Understanding your bill should be easy. And so you know exactly what is broken down there. Books are going to run you right around $100 a class. Some of you are going to say, look at the book list, and you're going to see that and say, I can get it a lot cheaper than that. And you're going to say, I can get it through my e-reader or my tablet, and I can download a book. You're going to say, my buddy's got that book. I'm going to use that, whatever else. I would still rather give you the high number so that you're planning on that bigger number, and you get to call me and say thank you, rather than sitting there and tell you $25 a class, and you call me wanting a check, because my wife's not going to let that happen. So we also have a $500 scholarship that we're offering here in the summer. We originally were going to end that last time in the spring. Administration decided, hey, you know what? It's easier. Let's roll that out in the summer one more time. We weren't quite ready to go with what we thought we might have wanted to do. So we said, let's go there. Let's take that off. So it's $500 off your first class. So any new student that comes in will get $500 off. So rather than $2,100, it's $1,600 that you'll pay for your first course, and it'll help you out a little bit. That'll be a nice little perk there. We talk about cost. We also have to follow it up with financial aid. Financial aid is a lot easier than you think. I realized one time when I was early on starting this job and working with coaches and ADs every single day in, day out, and I said, why are they asking so many questions about financial aid? Everyone's gone through this. And then I remembered that I may have had a little bit of money to go play sports in college, but the people that I'm talking to, most of them had the whole thing taken care of, and they never had to touch financial aid. So I don't know if you're one of those or if you had to do this in your undergrad and you need to know a little bit how to tweak it. We can talk you through this. This is very easy to do. Really, there's 2 things that you need to do to get the application process going. Apply through and do a FAFSA, which you can find out online here, the 2017-2018 FAFSA. I want to also say if you're starting in the summer before July 1, you need to fill out 2016-2017 one. It's just a government thing. I'm sorry they set that date of July 1. But if you're taking one of those 1-week classes after July 1, you would do the 2017-2018. So I can get into a little bit more of that detail later. But you're going to do a FAFSA, and then you're also going to do, we have a little MCAA financial aid application. It's a Google Doc that asks you like 5 questions, and you fill that out. That's really all you need to do. And then on our end, once we get you accepted, we send the financial aid office your acceptance letter. Those are the 3 things they need to review your eligibility for financial aid. What are you eligible for? If you're accepted for financial aid, it's more or less, and I don't want to say as a 100% rule, but more or less an all or nothing type thing. You get $20,500 per year if you're a full-time student and coming back to school and doing this. If not, you wouldn't get much. But basically, it's $20,500 per year, 5.31 federal unsubsidized Stafford loan. The difference in a subsidized Stafford loan means the government pays your interest while you're in school. Thankfully, you can do our program quickly, so you're probably not going to accrue much in school. There will be some there, but it's not going to be that much. The $20,500 is what you're eligible for, broken out over the 4 terms. I want to remind you, $20,500, is it true that it is higher than $18,900? Yes? There we go then. You don't have to worry about it too much, because a lot of times you have programs that are $40,000+ a year, and you're only getting $20,000 a year. You either got to break it up into 2 years, or you got to figure out another funding source of how you're going to pay for this. Our program, it's more than covered by that. In working with students a lot, there are 3 main reasons that students don't get financial aid if it's a no, which I'll say are fairly rare. It's not that common. Normally people are getting financial aid. The 3 reasons, number 1, is if you're currently involved in a bankruptcy and that has not been discharged. So that is the number 1 thing that they're going to see on that. Number 2 is, this kind of sounds odd, but if you had an overpayment, that's the odd part, or if you are not in a current standing in your undergraduate loan. So a lot of times what happens is financial aid officers try to make it really easy in your undergrad, and maybe you either didn't take some classes or you did take others, and you had an overpayment. You got more than what you should have got. That'll put a little red flag on there and it'll let you know. So that one, or if you're not current on your loan, that'll let you know. And that's very different for a lot of them. I'd encourage you, the specific questions on these, they really are reserved for our financial aid office, and I'll give you their information here too. They're going to help you out. I can give you the basics on the front end and the back end. But there's there. And then number 3 is if you're not a U.S. citizen. Those are the 3 reasons that the federal government says, hey, probably a red flag. I don't know if this is going to work or not. Here's the benefit. You don't have to wait forever and ever to find that out. You can find out as soon as you fill out your FAFSA. I think it's within 48 hours. They actually send that to you via email, and they let you know on page number 2 in red writing, it'll be there. It'll tell you exactly what it is. So you're going to see the same thing that our financial aid counselor is going to see. So you'll know that on there, and they'll be in contact with you. They'll say, hey, we need proof of employment verification. We need proof of residency. We need something else. They'll work with you on that. I want to emphasize, though, most of our students don't have to do any of those things. It works through seamlessly. It is a really easy process. It's not something to be scary for. This year, as a reminder, if you didn't know, April 18th is tax day. How many of you are doing your taxes online? Probably most of you are figuring out a way, or your tax guy is filing for you online. That's great, because then on the FAFSA side, it automatically sends stuff over. So you're done and good to go. So you can do the FAFSA in 5 minutes, where when I went to undergraduate school, it was like 2 hours of the most painstaking forms and everything else of my life, and I hated doing that. If it didn't work, there are other options for loans, Graduate Plus loans, other sources you can find on FastWeb. Here's the real kicker that a lot of times students will ask. They'll say, well, John, when I was in undergrad, there was a scholarship for being a left-handed athlete who could jump more than 6 inches off the ground. And we just don't have those at the graduate level as much. It just isn't as common. So you can definitely look on them. I would encourage you to see your schools, your districts, your employer, your everything else, if they can help and do stuff. But as a whole, at the graduate level, they're not nearly as common as the undergrad level. So just don't be surprised if you're looking at that and see that. Really want to make sure I give you the contact information, though, for Chris Pressler. Chris is our financial aid guy that works just for our program. It's very beneficial having a guy that knows our program in and out. He knows when the terms are, what classes, how many, what you can and can't do, all this kind of stuff. And so make sure to get in contact with Chris, and he'll be able to let you know. Once again, you don't need to scribble this too quickly, because we will have this for you and send to you tomorrow. You'll have his contact information. It's also on our website. It's all over the place there. But make sure to be in contact with Chris about that. He will really help you with more detailed questions and let you know if you have questions about that, or you saw some red on page 2 of your FAFSA, you had questions, he can help you out there. So that's Chris's information. My favorite part of the night. If I can invite our panel up here, we're going to have the panel join us. I'm going to introduce them briefly. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the microphone here. I'm mic'd up, you're not, Brooke, so there you go. So you'll kick us off. You don't have to do it in order. You're okay. So we kind of we didn't. If you guys swap, we're okay. But there we go. Then we'll start with Peter. Then how's that? So what I'm going to ask is that each of these guys introduce themselves, let you know a little bit about what they do now, where they're at or have been at with the MCAA program, and then they'll kind of go through. And then at the end, please ask questions. Let us know what you have. I might field it to one or the other, knowing them a little bit more. So just know that. Those of you on the live stream, please ask your questions through the chat. If you have a question for a specific one, let them know. If not, just write your general question. John will flag me, and I'll know to kind of relay that question here. So if you guys can please introduce yourself, let us know what you're doing.
Hi, my name is Peter Abe. I'm a alumnus of the MCAA program. I'm actually born and bred in Irvine, California. So when I actually finished my undergrad at Cal State Fullerton, I was kind of, I don't want to say jumped, but we had a nice, healthy debate and conversation about getting a master's from my buddy, Tom White, who was the former director here of this program, and it was one of the best decisions of my life. I mean, I was fortunate enough to get a job right after my undergrad, and started head coaching and all that stuff at Irvine High School. I was there for about 12 years and went out and tried to apply for their athletic director job, having been there for about a decade, and just was not ready, really wet behind the ears. And I think it was the very next year that I finished the MCAA program where I went back and night and day comparison, and ended up getting an assistant athletic director job there, and I was a head track coach and was varsity coordinator in football and all that stuff. I moved on and coached football at Villa Park High School the last 3 or 4 years, and was teaching my core subject. I like to think it's core of physical education, and now I'm the head football coach and on the athletic advisory council at the newest Irvine Unified School District high school at Portola High School. So very fortunate to have gone through this program and thankful that they will have me back.
Yeah. My name's Brooke Marino. I am currently a student in the program, and
Not for long.
not for long. I will be graduating in May. Woohoo! And I did it in 15 months, so it was an option. Born and raised in Southern Orange County, Mission Viejo, just down the 5. And I actually got a scholarship to go here and play volleyball as an undergraduate. I loved it so much. It was kind of a diamond in the rough at the time. It's more popular now. But I played volleyball here for 4 years and won a national championship, so that was pretty exciting. Thank you. And from there, I moved on to get my teaching credential. And my first interview, I got a teaching position, so I'm a physical education teacher. I also agree it is a core class. And from there, I decided master's would be important, and my aspirations to be an athletic director were kind of in the back of my head. So I thought, there's no way I'm going to get a job. I should go back to school. This is a great opportunity. So I went back to school. And then at one point, I'm juggling my first year teaching, running a varsity program at my alma mater high school, and going through the program. So my head was kind of all over the place. But the reason I feel I was able to do all that and be so successful is because of how organized and kind of, I don't know exactly how to explain it, but this program was fit for me. And so it worked with my schedule and what I wanted. And that's just really nice and a good opportunity. So I'm super happy I made the decision and, did it all at once. But for now, I'm just teaching and eventually trying to get an athletic director position.
So I'm Coach Ryan Brent. I am the head men's and women's lacrosse coach here at Concordia University in Irvine. Before that, did my undergrad at UC Santa Barbara, was Diablo as well, so Mission Viejo High School. Once I graduated from UC Santa Barbara, I kind of walked into, walk-on coaching over at my alma mater, Mission Viejo High School, and it was like many of the people who I've interacted with. Getting to my panel expertise, third semester in the MCAA program. And so in my third semester, I've interacted with a lot of people, and many of them are, they have high school experience, many of them have college experience, but most of us all have the exact same experience, which is the first time we got thrust into a coaching position, it wasn't at our choosing or luxury, it was by demand. For me, for example, I got half a season of prep as a assistant coach until the head coach gone, and so all of a sudden, boom, you're running, varsity, JV, Frosh soft teams, and you're 1 year out of college, and so that was my experience, and I kind of did it by, just sort of survival. All the way through, was pretty successful with it, but as I've come to find out later on in life, as I took the position with Concordia and then going through the program, there are a lot of things that a lot of blanks that I didn't know how to quite fill in, and so I'll say this about the program: it's easily the most topical program that I've ever, or topical courses that I've ever taken, whether that's from the leadership to ethics to research, all the above. I mean, everything is extremely topical to the field that you're in, whether that's coaching or whether you're in a business position where you're looking to just see how you can influence those around you in a positive manner. And so that's kind of my experience with it. Again, third semester, and I'm looking forward to graduating. But it's definitely been a great experience to have a course that finally actually teaches things that you're experiencing on a daily basis. And again, like you both said, I wish that I had it before, because it definitely would have helped me not make some of the mistakes. But we all learn and grow. So, thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. I'm Tim Preuss. You heard me earlier. I have over 20 years of college football experience. Coached 7 years of collegiate softball at my previous institution as well. Spent some time coaching high school football, baseball, and track. And have four kids of my own who have participated in football, cross country, track, and lacrosse here. And delighted to be a part of the program, and happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So I'm going to kick things off as we get going with questions. You get the opportunity to do this. Like I said, I might feel a certain way. Our first one's going to be online, though. So from the live stream, John, who's asking a question?
So we have a few people, and they're all pretty much general, same question. Can you guys talk about how much time was committed to assignments per night, per week, just kind of general time commitment?
So the question from online is talking about what the time commitment looks like for a class. I'm going to maybe relay this, sorry, Tim, a little more on this side from you guys and ask what that looks like. Maybe more to Ryan and Brooke, the current coaches.
Yeah, I would have to say each class is different. The core classes, you're looking at, I think it's 8 hours a week. I think that I did it a lot shorter time. If you're a person that can kind of reiterate on paper what's in your mind, it could go a lot faster. If you're a person that likes to write some part of this piece and then leave, maybe go to practice for a little bit and then come back and your kind of juices are flowing, it's better. So I too would leave a paper and come back and feel better about that. But if you're a person that can sit down and kind of just establish your thoughts and go for it, it could be as little as 4 hours a week for those core classes. I do know other people that like to break it down and take a longer time.
So Brooke, would you say 5 to 10 hours a week for a class is probably a good estimate that you would be within?
I definitely would say that.
Depending on the class, of course. Ryan, would you echo that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I'd also say you can do as little as one course or two. I chose two so I could finish in the 15 months. So if you match your choice really for the electives, you can kind of see what goes with others and what matches. And so for me, I wanted to complete it all online because I forgot to tell you, I coach varsity at Mission as well. So I have their program and I'm kind of where he's at. I'm just thrown into the fire learning. So for me, it was I really tried to look at because what you have in front of you is actually online as well. So if you ever wanted to see how much you have left, just go online. And I just wanted to see kind of what went with what. So when we were talking about ethics in sport, I actually chose my elective to be the sport-specific volleyball because that was mine and all that stuff. So you can kind of piece what you want to do together. And I would say that was about an hour to 3 hours for the elective courses.
So then I'm going to actually skip you, Ryan. Sorry, we'll get back to you. And go to Tim. Tim, is the plan for the MS to be around that same? Is that the goal of the program? Will those MS classes maybe have a little more? Maybe talk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, again, it's going to depend a lot. It's going to vary from student to student. I think the range that Brooke gave of 5 to 10 hours is probably reasonable. The background that you have going in those classes will make a huge difference. If you've got an undergraduate degree in exercise physiology, it's not going to be you want to spend as much time as if you become interested in this. I've got a guy right now that is in Utah, a football coach, asked me that because he's, can I take your 586 class? I'd really like to take it. But I was an English major. Okay, well, he successfully completed the class, but he was texting me 3 times a week, So, yeah, it can be done. It just depends on your background.
So my next question was going to be, how accessible are our instructors? I think Tim just mentioned that. Did you say that you had a student text you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's not
There we go.
uncommon
They're
at all.
accessible.
I give all my students my cell phone number. Yeah, and I get called. I do ask them to be a little bit respectful. I give them guidelines. I try to remember it's Pacific time,
Do-
you know.
Do
But,
you give them guidelines, or does your wife give them the guidelines?
No, see, and it's not calls late at night out here. Students on the East Coast calling me at 4 in the morning.
Okay. There you go.
Because
Okay.
they forget the time change.
Perfect. Anyone in the room? Do we have some questions here? Things that have been stirring for a little while? Please.
The 1-week classes.
Yes.
You took that. You didn't take that.
Ryan, did you take one last summer or no?
I wanted to.
Start in the fall.
Did you do one?
You do a 1-week class?
I do know it'd be
I just
epic
wanted
if
to
you
know
could.
what it was like. Because you're doing 8 hours a day.
Tim?
I teach.
Yeah.
Okay, I teach a strength, speed, and conditioning class. It's 1 week during our California Coaches Conference. So the week is, we get started at 8. We have a plenary speaker that all the classes attend to hear. So last year we had Tubby Smith. We've had lots of pretty high-profile speakers. I mentioned Tom House, baseball guy, was here last year as well. So we have that is part of the day. We break for lunch, then we're back in class. Many of the classes are not exclusively, that 8 hours a day in the classroom. So in my strength, speed, and conditioning class, we'll take mini field trips. Last year we went to see USC. We went to Mission. We went to St. John Bosco to give them a flavor of different kinds of facilities. And we had the coaches there give them a little bit of input on topics. So it's going to be a combination. I think you'll find a lot of the courses will spend some time on the court or on the field, demonstrating drills, discussing techniques as part of it. So it's part classroom, part active learning. And then there's reading that goes along. In my class, the students had the balance of the summer to finish the project for that class, which was very much along the same lines as the regular class students would have done.
The balance of the summer?
Yeah.
Like a reading assignment?
Meaning you have like 2 to 4 weeks extra after that's done.
Well,
turn in that assignment.
actually-
Whenever his class is scheduled.
So
So
does that help? Okay.
the nice thing, I remember a story of 3 years ago. I was up there. They were doing the football class. They were up on the field, and Bill Cunardy was teaching that class. And Bill Cunardy is a personal quarterback coach to some of the greats. I mean, he worked with guys like Andrew Luck and a handful of others. So big name guys. And he's out there showing and running routes. And he brought some guys out that he knew that were training and doing different things. And they're running, and these coaches are running through it. And these football coaches are sitting here scribbling down the whole time. And he's walking through how he teaches and what he does on the football field and how he teaches his quarterbacks, and just letting these guys observe and work in and teach it. So it's very practical in that nature. I mentioned earlier for you, Christine Palais, who teaches the swimming or water polo course for us, the CIF Southern section. I think she's an assistant commissioner, something like that, for aquatics, does that. And they're out and about at aquatics programs all over the place.
Is there a 1-week class for the swimming and water polo?
Yeah, they go every other year between swimming and water polo, correct? Water polo this summer? So yeah, water polo is this summer. So we had one online there, John. Question?
Yes, for current students.
So the question is for a current student.
What is the most challenging part of the program, and then most challenging class?
Most challenging part of the program and most challenging class. Let me give Ryan, because I passed you up earlier, challenging part of the program, and then Peter will jump to you for most challenging class.
So for me,
You like challenging?
yeah,
That was a good
so
word. Yeah.
super
Okay.
challenging. So the most challenging part for me personally is getting my coursework done in the middle of season. It's by no means the program's thing. It's all about the load that you take on, and if you're realistic about what you can handle, knowing that 5 to 10 hour. But I will say this, we've been to between my 2 programs, we've been on 4 or 5 really long trips right in the middle of my thing where logistics are really heavy and there's recruiting and so on and so forth. And I've been obviously I communicate up front with my professors, but my professors have worked with me really well, and I know that to be the case with all of the professors, that if you are up front with them and talk with them, that they will assist you with any sort of issues you have with time management.
So to clarify, though, folks, for those of you online that may not have heard, Ryan coaches 2 college sports, both men's and women's lacrosse. He is doing this program, and word on the street is your wife's expecting too, and you already have a little one in the house. Number 2. So can it be done with a family is a question we get all the time. What does that commitment look like with the work, family, everything else? So there's that. Good planning, I would say that's the answer. So Peter, please, most difficult class.
I think I would say that most everybody here is taking the program or interested in the program because it's something they enjoy doing. It's their passion. They love it. So personally, I don't think there was one class that I think that was the hardest. I think the most challenging maybe for me was the ethics and sportsmanship. Not because of how hard it was, but because it's such a philosophically based type class. So where you assume you have all these answers already, having at the time I had already been a head coach for 5 years, and it was like I kind of thought I knew everything. And when you're given this assignment to write, or you have these discussion board questions and you have to answer them, and you start talking about philosophical stuff online. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that's going to turn into a pretty long discussion and debate about things. And as I said before, it wasn't the difficulty of the course necessarily, but it really challenged how I saw things as a professional in the field. And it made my 2-3 page papers turn into 10, 15 page papers, and the little 1-sentence responses on those discussion questions would turn into those long text messages that nobody likes to read. So that, I would say, was the one that if I could have taken it back and not written so much, I probably would have.
I'm going to jump in with one too, because we haven't talked a whole lot about the online education section of it, but we use Blackboard for that, and discussion boards. Can some of you talk, maybe Peter, you got the mic there, talk a little bit about what that was like. You mentioned discussion board questions. I mentioned earlier, basically the difference is when you're in person, you raise a hand. When you're online, you type it in.
Yeah,
so.
I was similar to Brooke, where it was a time factor. The convenience of the program was awesome, so I was able to come, I think once a week. It was like Monday nights, and concurrently take an online course. And so it was essentially, hey, you had this major paper due at the end of the week of 7 days or whatever it was, and then throughout the week you had to do the reading and then do all the discussion questions and things like that. And it essentially was maybe 2 or 3 discussion questions, but like I said before, if you're actively participating those 2 or 3 questions, and then they get responses, and then we're all coaches here, we have egos through the roof, so we have to respond to the responses, and then it becomes this long thing that becomes this kind of healthy exchange that is really typical of today's era, right? Like, you go on Facebook and Instagram and all these things, and you comment, and then somebody comments to the comment, and before long you read through and you come up with either a cemented perspective that you already held, or you end up thinking differently about something maybe that you thought you knew about in the beginning. So I enjoyed it. I got a lot out of it, and I think if I had to do it again, I would kind of do something similar, where I would take the one I was most interested in, probably in person, right? And then online, I would do those philosophical classes where I don't have to actually get into a debate with somebody in class. That might, be a little bit awkward and weird. So
That's good. Tim, please.
From an instructor's point of view, I had taught for over 20 years before I started teaching online, and I was a little nervous about, because I'm used to eyeballing people and having discussions. And the beauty for me of, because our program is also asynchronous, you don't have to log on at a certain time every week. The beauty for me is that I interact with every one of my students about the discussion board posts and about their assignments every week. And I could not say that about my interactions with students in a face-to-face classroom of 20 or 25 students. So I think that's a real value for the students. You're going to have responses from your faculty members on a very regular basis.
And asynchronous, for those of you that might know, I mean, you can log in whenever you'd like. Typically speaking, assignments are due Sunday at midnight or Friday at midnight. Your instructor gives you a set date that more or less is the same every week. And whenever you get to that throughout the week, you get to it. So if Monday morning makes sense, or Tuesday afternoon, or Wednesday night, that's on you. Your schedule changes every week. And so you get to adjust accordingly. So a guy like Ryan is able to be traveling and on the road and all these different places, or Brooke is able to be there with a club team one night and that the rest, and adjust your schedule because you check in there. So.
And then I just want to add something. I thought I was an in-person learner, and then I did my first online course. It went both 2 and 1 quarter, and it went wonderful. And the one thing I really enjoyed about it is going from being like a collegiate athlete, and your head's kind of at a higher point than the level I was coaching at. It was so exciting to see that you're in a class with like 19 people or 30 people, but I was teaching with like national champion coaches with like 30 years experience, or one of them's coaching professional tennis, or it was just so exciting. I wasn't just talking with a colleague or with a peer or anything, but I was talking to someone across the world. Like, he was a athletic director in Shanghai. Am I saying that right? Shanghai? That didn't sound right.
Shanghai?
Shanghai. I was like, that did not sound right. I was like, why does that sound weird? But it was crazy. He was totally teaching English and wanting to do this, and he was the athletic director in a different country. So for me, my very first quarter, I was like, wow, I'm getting so much experience from, water polo, or you just hear these different sports that they're not your sport, so you're kind of close. You didn't think you were close-minded, but you are, and then you're learning the philosophies and kind of the character traits and what they're going through, and you're kind of piggybacking advice. So my favorite thing about it was I just felt like I was getting way more experience than not anything bad, just speaking with a faculty member, but I was gaining so much experience from my colleagues. So that was really cool opportunity.
So you had networking opportunities even though it was an online class.
Yes, 100%.
Perfect. John? We have a couple questions here.
How did you?
One of the questions
How did you break
is,
into coaching right after your bachelor's degree? So like fresh out of college, how did you kind of
fresh out of college, how did you break into coaching? I think Ryan mentioned he got thrusted into it earlier and just said, there it is, go. Any of you want to maybe elaborate on that a little bit about your first gig?
I was fortunate enough to go to school locally at Cal State Fullerton, and at the time I wanted to be an athletic trainer. And so while I was doing my studies, you have a couple hours a day, I just went back to my alma mater and just, hey, you guys got a gig for me type of thing, and they found a spot, and that legitimately is how you'll hear about most people starting, especially when they are really, really young. I mean, there's not too many 19-year-old head JV coaches or varsity whatever coaches. Usually you're kind of riding the coattails of your former varsity coach that you cared about, they cared about you, and they want to see you grow and continue to support you through college and keep you off the streets for a little bit longer. But
Peter, let me interject a little bit and clarify maybe that you're saying that the networking opportunities helped you even before you got in your program, that you were creating a network of coaches.
Yes.
So the fact that us being the largest program of its type in the nation would probably be very beneficial.
It's definitely helpful because I think
admissions tangent.
After, if you don't go that route and start coaching right away after high school, once you finish your degrees, with the coaches that you meet, you'll find I think just meeting him today, I coach with one of his players, I never would have known that. And now we have this connection where, I never thought would have been the case. So, it's a very small world out there, and until you actually dive in with a bunch of other professionals that are doing the same thing as you, you don't really know what you have until you kind of go after it.
I want to ask maybe the bright side. Earlier we asked what the most difficult class was. Maybe one of you, what was your favorite class and why? Or you can flip that, your favorite class, and maybe how are you using that? Maybe a better thing in your role now.
We had just met this evening as well, and we were talking earlier, and we were saying how we took an elective course, leadership and administration. And my favorite part about it is every week, one of our assignments was to study a coach that has those leadership qualities. So we had sub assignments besides the core actual classes where we're learning about, I can't even think of the names right now.
Paula Weissoff.
Yeah, not Paula Weissoff. John Wooden one week, and then the Duke head coach, and I'm blanking. That was supposed to be my first one.
Coach K.
Thank you. All over the place tonight.
He's a little sad right now.
So, yeah. So we're just learning about all these people and kind of taking the details from them while learning just about how to be a good leader in life. You don't have to be a coach. You don't have to be a teacher or an administrator or those aspirations. We were just talking about how do you be a good leader? How do you be a servant leader? And that was just something that you could relate to just on a humanity level. So for me, that's something I really enjoyed. And then ethics in sport, you just really got to talk and think and kind of think, wow, what is ethically appropriate and what's not. And, they put you in these situations where this could happen to you. So what are you going to do? How are you going to step up to the challenge? And so for me, those two were really, really just kind of like, I was eager to do homework.
Ryan, why don't you go? What's your favorite class that you've taken 3 terms in? What do you think?
Well, and I really enjoyed the leadership one as well. My professor was he's Hall of Fame coach and actually just took his second football team to a state championship and was actually CIF Coach of the Year. So those are the kind of guys you have on staff. And he basically wrote the book on.
I believe that was Jim Kunow. Is that
Kunow.
correct?
I didn't say it because I don't know how to pronounce the last name, and I always
It's okay.
mess it up.
Jim Kunow. He's a great
Kunow,
man.
He's awesome. So that was fantastic. And then the other one that I took that was really topical and amazing and was the psychology of coaching. Mostly, and I'll say this: that's the one of those that you're never prepared for. You thrown right into the role you weren't prepared for coming out. But especially nowadays, it's in order to reach the wide spectrum of individuals that you have on your team and how to properly get them to all buy into the same culture, how to properly manage their activation levels when they're going into contests or practices and things like that. These were things that I read some books, but it was never put together for me. And even as a college coach, it definitely the term that I took it. So I took it in the fall, and I was actually able to implement over winter break, implement new strategies that we're doing right now with my teams in the spring. So it's really cool to see that go.
Ryan, so you took something you learned, you implemented it over the winter for now in the spring. And where are your teams ranked nationally right now?
Men's are number 2 and women are number 4. So
in the nation.
Nationally, yeah. So
there you go.
We're doing okay.
I'm gonna keep helping them out here. I just like to buff these guys up.
Humble
so,
brag. Yeah, we're good.
you can't brag. I can do it for
there
you.
You go. Thanks, John.
So I think we got one more from John in the back here.
So this is for Tim.
Okay, for Dean Tim Price.
What is the most challenging job you ever had?
Oh, question for Tim Price is, what's the most challenging job you ever
you-
had?
We had a question about jobs, and how do you get your first one?
You're
I
not
was
allowed to
at-
say this one either.
I was at our sister school in Nebraska, and I was already an assistant football coach, the defensive coordinator, when a faculty position opened up, and somewhere from the announcing the position to the final, putting it together, coaching softball got added. So I was halftime teaching in the Health and Human Performance Department, football coordinator in the fall, and head softball coach in the spring. And I'd played junior Legion baseball and had coached 2 years of high school baseball, and I was the head college coach. My first year, they named me the conference coach of the year because we won 2 conference games, and nobody could remember the last time Concordia had won a conference game before that. But 4 years later, we were in the regional. We were in the regional championship. So God was good. But that was a tough deal, trying to be like one day ahead of the kids.
What I'm going to do right now, we are right at about time, so these folks are going to stick around here and answer any questions. Those of you online through the live stream, John's going to stay on. We are going to still be answering questions via that chat there, so please make sure to still ask questions and do that. Want to follow up by letting you all know, make sure your applications are in there. This is not a hard commitment. This is starting the process. Is by doing this is saying, hey, this is something that I'm a little more interested in. Let's see if this is something that might work. By filling this out, you're not promising me your firstborn, I promise. You are just starting the application process with us. So I encourage you to do that. As a reminder, everyone here, if you turn them in right now, they're waived for you. They're free. You don't have to worry about that application fee. Those of you online through the live stream, if you go ahead and submit those online and John has your name, you'll have those waived if it's within that 24-hour period. So those are all waived there. So thank you so much for joining us. These guys are staying here for the live people in person. Online, stick around. John's going to be answering questions, and we'll make sure to get that PDF followed up with you all tomorrow. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your evening.